Hey everyone, Amir here from Resonance Astrology, and as always, joined by lovely Duna Holler. We're greeting you for the Decan Dance series, and we're going to talk about the Decans of Scorpio this time around. And if you're completely new here to this series and you have no freaking clue what the Decans even are, well, the Decans are the 10 degrees increments of a zodiac sign. So when we have, and let's put Scorpio as an example of today, the sign of Scorpio is 30 degrees long. And if we cut that in half, I mean, like if we do thirds of that, so we have the first 10 degrees, the middle 10 degrees, and the last 10 degrees, well, these three parts constitute of the decans. And so depending on if you have any planet, let's say Venus in Scorpio at 5 degrees or 16 degrees or 28 degrees of Scorpio, well, it's going to play out very differently depending on in which of these decans it falls. And this is really what we're focusing on here. We're focusing on bringing this closer to you so you can understand your chart better, so you can understand other people's charts better, so you can even understand the transits better because this is how it's playing out in real life. We're doing it also with the transiting sun actually, so we're always following where the sun is currently. Well, the sun is currently in Scorpio. And so this is why we're going to talk about that. And you can kind of follow the sun through the journey. Like that's probably the easiest planet to follow through that. And yes, this is that part. And then the other part that we have is doing the workshops. These are live interactive workshops that we invite you on if you have Scorpio planets or you want to learn more about Scorpio. There we look at birth charts of people. We talk about the tarot cards, which we also talk about here, but even more in depth and giving you much more examples. And then we do also go in depth in some of the transits that are currently going on in the sky for Scorpio. We will probably talk about like Mercury retrograde, maybe, or maybe also Venus in Scorpio, because that's going to be happening during that time. And then after that, we have a segment where really you can come on and talk about your chart or your experience with the decans. And we can guide you, of course. We can maybe help you understand certain parts of your chart in a deeper way, or if you want to understand someone else's chart in a deeper way. So the Scorpio Decans workshop is going to be on November 9th. Yes, right, November 9th. It's always on Sunday at 7:30 Central European Time, which usually fits for most people, depending on where you're from. I know there's a lot of people from the US sometimes tuning in. Well, for US folks, it's going to be around what, like morning, midday.
Yes.
So, it should be okay for, not too early. Um, and yeah, we're super excited if people come and join. It's always been so fun up until now, and especially like we like that part we're doing here and giving you the information, but we enjoy the part where it's interactive, where we can talk to you even more. So, yes, this is
Yeah.
what I have to say.
And also in the workshops, we get more in depth into some of the things about this deck and like the dignities and different planets on them because we look at different chart
True,
examples.
yes.
So we talk about things that we're really not gonna talk in this video because this is more like a short, just like general vision. So you can like watch this like in an 20-30 minutes and look at it as one of the decans. The workshops are way more in depth and way more like getting really like how is the dignity of this planet here? How is it working in this person's chart, in their life, and kind of analyzing all of that. And also, yeah, if you come, we can do it with your chart too.
Yeah. Yeah, the workshops are usually around 1.5 to 2 hours long, I would say, just so you kind of know what you're signing up for. The links for that will be down in the description below, and then you can click that. One workshop is $11. And if you want, you can even still join for the whole year. Like maybe you're new to the series, you're like, damn, did I miss out on everything? Well, no, you didn't. We have all the recordings from all the other workshops as well, and you can get all of them if you want. So you can still join for the whole year, so to say, and then you can come join the Scorpio workshop and all the other ones that we're going to have up until and with Pisces and get all the recordings I did for the previous workshops. And we're offering that at a discounted price now just because we are over that mid-year range. So if you join up for the whole year, so to say, it's only $77. And yeah, we're looking forward to come see and dance to Decan Dance with us. That's why we call it. We want you to join us on this lovely dance. So, yes, did I miss anything, Duna? I think I said
I don't think you
everything.
missed anything.
Great.
I
Well,
don't think so.
then we can start talking about Scorpio Decan I.
Yes. Okay. Scorpio Decan I is called by Austin Kopok in 36 Faces a jawbone. And the images of this decan are of a beautiful red-bodied woman eating, a woman of good face and habit, and two men fighting for her. So it's usually, yeah, this like red body woman that is like doing this like devouring act, or like two men fighting for a woman specifically. The rulers of the Decan are both in Chaldean and in Ptolemaic order Mars. So we have a double Martian Decan. This is one of the most, if not, I think it's the most Martian part of
Yeah.
the whole zodiac, because it also has the bounce of Mars in its beginning, and Mars rules Scorpio, so it's like the most Martian, and also it's like the nocturnal ruler, so very, very Martian. And the card is the Five of Cups, which Amilla's
I'm
gonna
gonna
show us.
show. Yes. I just want to say the cards that I'm pulling from are from the Trippin Way tarot deck. It is based on the original Way tarot deck, but it is a more psychedelic version. So the images I'm going to show are going to have a more, yeah, psychedelic look than the original cards. But yes, I always just want to mention that so nobody's confused. So this is the Five of Cups. I think the guitar is not in the original one. So, yes, the Five of Cups. This is, I think this really shows us how much Mars is about severing and letting go, because clearly this person is letting go of something. And, but the main part about this card is that there are two cups that are still standing, which I think reminds us that even if we need to let go of something, or we need to cut something or someone away, or we maybe need to set proper boundaries, because Mars is about protection and boundaries is something that protects us, and to realize what is still there, and that not everything, like loss, doesn't necessarily mean that we're losing everything. We're gaining something new. An ending is a beginning. A loss is also a gain. And I do think this card talks a lot about that, and also kind of the beauty that can come with that, because we feel so much lighter. And if we cut something or someone away from our lives, we make room and space for something new to come in. And for sure, it is scary, but it's also necessary at certain moments in our lives. And so I do think it's like an empowering moment or card. I mean, often in tarot readings, when this card gets pulled, this is kind of the question of like, what do you kind of need to walk away from? So, yes, Martian card, Martian part of the zodiac. What do you have something to add here, Duna?
Yes, actually, I love how you kind of pointed out the most positive meanings of this part of the zodiac. Yeah, because like Mars can usually be associated with like difficult scenes,
That is true, yeah.
and like this decan is very associated in the old texts and in Austin Kopok's book as well, with violence, sex, power. It's a very like physical and like really like extreme decan, and I love that you kind of pointed out the most positive aspects of the extreme. Yeah, like
Yeah.
if you let go of things, you still have other things. If you choose things, you like the choice of something is a very powerful act, and I feel like this decan is very powerful. It is also kind of called like a place of like great hunger, so
Hmm.
it's like there's like a also an aspect of like hunger for more, hunger for life, hunger for things. So it's very much a severance and moving away and searching for more decan, if I would say so. And Yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
I mean, because it's the person isn't happy here. It's
Yeah.
necessarily so, and they're obviously looking at these cups. They're not looking at these cups that are still standing. Um, and I don't think that loss of any kind is ever really truly easy,
Hmm.
even if you're doing it for your greater good. It's still not easy to set boundaries or to cut ties with something or someone. A loss is a loss at the end of the day. And I do think this Decan talks about that. And at the end, I just still think, Mars is in domicile in the sign of Scorpio. So as much as it is also pain, there is also so much regeneration that goes into that Mars and the power and really the power of that as well. So I definitely did want to highlight the positive parts of that as well, because yeah, to just show a bit more love to the malefics.
I love that. Okay, I think you can we can go to read the poems.
Yes.
We usually read one poem from T. Susan Chan's book 36 Secrets, which is part of our research material. But today, for this decade specifically, and maybe because I have Jupiter here, I'm gonna read two poems. Partially, I like the poem that Jesus Chan chose. Like, I think it's a really great poem, but also Sylvia Plath had her son in this decade, so I kind of like want to read a poem by her. We will definitely look over her chart in that workshop. So, first poem, Mythic Fragment by Amy Clampett. When the stern Goth approached me with his gift, my fear enchanted him, so that he ran more quickly through the wet glass as he insisted to praise me. I saw captivity in praise. Against the liar, I begged my father in the sea to save me. When the god arrived, I was nowhere. I was in a tree forever. Reader, pity Apollo, at the water's edge. I turned from him. I summoned my invisible father as I stiffened in the god's arms. Of his encompassing love, my father made no other sign from the water. And then the Sylvia Plath poem that I chose is called The Glutton, and it talks about hunger. He, hunger strong, hard to slake, so fitted is for my back luck, with heat such as no man could have, and yet keep kind, that all merits in being meat, season how he must approve. Blood's broth, filtered by his hand, choice wassel makes, cook hot, cup quick to mouth, the prime parts cram each rich meal, he'll not spare, nor scan his want until sack larva's gone bomber. So, if you don't have anything to add, we'll go to the second decan. Okay.
Let's go to the second Decan.
Okay, the second decan of Scorpio is called by Austin Kobok an apparatus for mutual distillation. And the images are usually two people naked and intertwined. The variability of the genders of these people is very interesting because there's not a lot of like, there's various interpretations of that. Also, another of the images is a man sitting on the earth, and before him, two dogs biting one another. So, two people naked, or two dogs biting one another, or people intertwined. And the rulers are in Chaldean order the Sun, and in Ptolemaic order Jupiter. And the card is the Six of Cups.
Yeah, so this feels like the PG version of that.
Yeah.
So there's definitely symbolism of what you just said there, and I love how Austin calls it what the distillation of, or what
An
did you say?
apparatus for mutual distillation.
Yeah,
It feels
wow.
very, very pornographic, to be honest.
Um, in any case, talking about the tarot card, it's usually cutesy type of tarot card. Um, Talks a lot about connection. Wait, sorry, what did you say the rulers were again? Did you say what the
The
rulers were?
Sun and Jupiter.
Oh, did you say what the rulers were?
Yes, I said
Oh,
it.
okay. I guess I was just drinking water, so I somehow didn't. Apologies. Apologies here. But yeah, Sun and Jupiter, both Sun and Jupiter together are very light-hearted planets. So it's interesting them kind of being so present in this decade because Scorpio is not really that, I feel like. But I think it talks about like the deep commitment and love and appreciation that is shared. And Scorpio is a fixed sign, and I think one of the like stereotypes, but they definitely have like truth behind it because all stereotypes kind of do is that Scorpio loves deeply and hard. And I do think that is kind of present in this decan and shows the devotional part of Scorpio. I think maybe that first decan shows the hungry part of Scorpio and what Scorpio can do even as an animal, like hunger through the wastelands and all of that for a long time. And this part is, when Scorpio gets the opportunity, so much love to give, so much love and care. And I do think this card really talks about that and like kind of the abundance aspect of that, which is not something we necessarily associate Scorpio with, but planets in that kind of Scorpio definitely have a lot to give. And I think sometimes when people have planets in this decan and they don't have something they can devote themselves to, they can really suffer. It doesn't have to be a person. Obviously, it's lovely if it is, but you can be devoted to your creative projects and all of that. But if they don't have that, they can like kind of be really lost. So, yes, what do you have to say, Duna?
I also think it's very interesting that it's the Sun and Jupiter. Also because both are diurnal planets and they're kind of in a weird place here.
Yeah.
And I think the weirdness is very related to the Scorpio quality of obsession. I think obsession is something very weird. Becoming obsessed with something is something that is like kind of like spooky. And I
Mm,
think this second decan is very much about that quality of like being like the kind of yearning. That's the keyword I would
yearning,
use.
yeah.
So it's like you devote yourself to something or someone very deeply and intimately. And I feel like the Sun and Jupiter, which are very amplifiers and very egoic planets,
Yeah.
kind of filters through a Scorpio, gives this vibe of like the obsession, the journey, and the kind of like, mm, yeah, the deep parts of looking at the ego, I think.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't know why I'm so like I'm putting everything in a positive light today, I guess. But definitely the dark side of that decan is obsession and obsession can border on, being unhealthy, of course, because you can be completely obsessed with a person and then forget that you are your own person and maybe you should focus on your own life and all of that. So again, it's kind of what I said, but didn't really say, but it's like if you don't have anything you're healthfully devoted to, it can easily become self-destructive. And I think that's like the negative side of that decan or what people that have planets in the decan could potentially struggle with. Yes.
Yeah, I also forgot to say that it's also associated with alchemy, this decan specifically,
Hmm.
which makes a lot of sense with these two rulers because it's like you have these planets that are very action oriented, very diurnal, very out there, very in the world, but they're in this very deep place, a nocturnal place. So I feel like that combination is why it's called like it's very useful for alchemy. So a lot of Like ancient texts will talk about doing things related to alchemy, for example, while the sun or the moon were here,
Yes.
which feels like another type of like deep relationship, just like devoting yourself to like doing alchemy or like doing magic is very obsessive as well, in a good way.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think both Jupiter and the Sun talk about something higher. So I do think
Mm.
if there's like a devotion to something higher, in whatever way that might be for you, then it's like then it can reach its full potential in a good way, and it can like stop going from being obsessed with people and things that like won't give you that back what you're searching for, and like really devoting yourself to something higher and working with something higher. But yeah, more on that on a workshop.
Yes. And the poem is Nothing Gold Can Stay by Robert Frost. Nature's first green is gold, her hardest hue to hold. Her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaves to sighs to live, so Eden sank to grief. So Dan goes down today, nothing gold can stay.
Simple but
And
true.
yes, and we go to the third decan, Scorpio. It's called by Austin Kopok a crow. And the images of this decan are usually I love this one. A man bowed down to his knees and a woman striking him with a staff. So it's BDSM. Uh, the-
BDSM Decan.
yes. The rulers of the Deccan are Venus in Chaldean order and the moon in Ptolemaic order. So we are back into the nocturnal and kind of internal and intimate and subjective and all those things vibe, and it's very much more resonant and less weird than the last one. And the card is the Seven of Cups, which is extremely a Scorpio card.
Seven of Cups. I know you know these card guys. Um, yeah, I think, first of all, before even talking about that card, the fact that both Venus and the Moon are here, like, yes, we're going to the nocturnal realm. Both Venus and the Moon do not do well in the sign of Scorpio.
Yes,
Venus is in its detriment in the sign of
detriment.
Scorpio, and the Moon is in its fall in the sign of Scorpio. And a lot about what this card talks is overwhelm in a way, the overwhelm of options and wants and needs and I think it like shows us why Venus and the moon like don't do so well. Like Venus and the moon are so much about fluidity and adaptation and going with the flow and letting desires shift. But Scorpio is a fixed sign. It needs that certain stability. Scorpio, as an archetype, constantly searches for safety, tends to sometimes be a bit hyper vigilant about like who it lets in, what it lets into its life. And so then this card comes around and it almost opposes the nature of Scorpio in a way, which kind of puts Scorpio in a spot, and which why I think this card is like weirdly difficult, so to say, because it is talking a bit about the overwhelm and also what Scorpio puts in its own way that removes it from living a more like abundant and easeful life, I would say.
Mm.
Scorpio is very much about like focused on survival most of the time, and that is obviously in like an echo to Taurus, which has like Venus and the moon are doing extremely well in the sign of Taurus. And Taurus does that part extremely well. It's able to take the pleasure part of living that Scorpio has a harder time. 'Cause Scorpio tends sometimes to be a bit more serious. And so this card or this decan comes around and is like, do you even dare to like invite the pleasures of life that are listed up here? I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the pleasures listed in this specific in this specific tarot deck, to be completely honest, but yes, vices, whatever you want to call them. I think it's a very fascinating Decan, to be completely honest, and I'm super curious, like to explore it more deeply in the workshop, of course, with you. So yeah, but what do you have to say right now, Duna?
I kind of love this deck for this one specifically because I feel like this card is already kind of about like drugs and like it's about altered states of mind as well. It's something I feel like is very scorpionic. It's kind of like because you feel things so deeply, you have to numb yourself. So I feel like that is kind of like a shadow aspect of this decan as well, and of the moon in Scorpio, right? Like if you feel a lot of things and a lot of things are like invading you from a lot of places, you
Hmm.
tend to like search for things that kind of like put you away from the world. And
Yeah,
so I do feel like this car shows like that kind of like you have a lot of possibilities, you have a lot of illusionment, you have a lot of like options in life or whatever, but the danger is kind of like not looking at yourself or not like accepting yourself or falling in love with like kind of like the more simpler things or the things that are not um as shiny. So
agreed, yeah.
I do feel like in that way when you describe like the detriment and fall of Venus and the Moon in Scorpio, it feel like it was very to me. It feel like it was very Scorpio because these two planets have very clearly a dignity, a like difficult dignity, but a
Yeah,
dignity in Scorpio. So
yeah,
it kind of like they kind of define the qualities of the sign that are like mm, sometimes difficult in that way.
agreed. Yes, yes. And we don't even see the person here so much. So it's definitely the focus is on the options and on the things and on the shiny objects and not so much on the person itself.
Yeah,
So yeah, definitely a fascinating. That can personally I have my sun and ascendant there, so it's personal to me in that regard. Um yeah.
I also think that it's curious that it's called a crow. Um, you know, like a bird
Hmm.
that is very intelligent and very like I feel like this Decan is particularly clever because it's like if you fall to this like possessions and early things and whatever, you can like get lost in them. But if you learn to like look at them through the eyes of a crowd, or for like, you
Mm,
know, if you learn to like take the tiny things and like do well with them and like deal with them, kind of like balance them, is a lot of possibilities.
agreed, yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna read the poem because we'll talk about this all of this more in the workshop. It's called To the Snake by Denise Levertov. Green snake, when I hang you around oh sorry. Green snake, when I hang you around my neck and stroke you cold, pulsing throat as you hissed to me, glinting, ivory gold scales, and I felt the weight of you on my shoulders, and the whispering silver of your dryness sounded close at my ears. Green snake, I swore to my companions that certainly you were harmless, but truly I had no certainty and no hope, only desiring to hold you for that joy which left a long wake of pleasure as the leaves moved and you faded into the pattern of grass and shadows, and I returned, smiling and haunted, to a dark morning. And we're done with Scorpio. We hope to see you all on the workshop to expand on all of this. November 9th, 7:30 Central European Time, $11.
Yeah.
Uh,
7:30 p.m.
PM, yeah, not AM. Can you imagine?
Central European time. Exactly. We're not gonna get up
Yeah,
so early.
yeah, no, no, we don't, we're not gonna get up at 7 to do our workshop. So
Yeah, is there you pretty much said it. I do also, here we read from this book when we do the workshops. I do read from the Dreaming the Decans book of T. Susan Chang. So we do also read poems there, and I think it's such a nice way to connect with the Decans through poems. I mean, even to the planets with the Orphic hymns. I'm personally such a huge fan of that. It's like a little love note, I think, to the planets and yeah, Decans are just really fascinating. I think you understand the zodiac signs so much deeper if you understand how they can express themselves in three significantly different ways. And you get to know your planets so much better when you realize, oh, hey, yeah, I don't know, my Venus is in Scorpio Decan too. Oh, it functions in that way. It functions different than, I don't know, my friend that has Venus in Scorpio Decan I or III. So it really deepens the understanding that we get of a sign and the planets and transits through that sign. So, yeah, hope to see you there. And yeah, all the links are going to be down below. If you want to sign up, the link will be down below. If you want to connect and stay in touch with us, our Instagrams, or all of that, it's also going to be linked down below. So, we're going to see you soon and enjoy Scorpio season for now. Bye, guys.